Hello everybody, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I am your host, Demigloom, and welcome back to Middle School GSA. As a friendly reminder, we are not actually middle schoolers, and to address the elephant in the room, no, Felonious Ferris is not with us. They have taken an indefinite hiatus, and I will talk about that later on. But right now, I am joined by a very special guest,
Hello.
Marcy Rheintgen.
That's me. How's it going, y'all?
How are you doing today, Marcy? Sorry, how are you doing today, Marcy?
I'm doing good. I'm like sleepy. I took a nap because I didn't get much sleep the night before. 'Cause I was like doing one of those stupid AMAs. Well, not stupid. I like doing the AMAs. Because I don't know. It's kind
Were you doing an AMA on Reddit?
No, I'm about to do the AMAs on Reddit, but I was recommended because okay, so I like to go into the sort of I don't want to say enemy, but you love your enemies. You know, I love my enemies. I went into like enemy territory and did some AMAs. On first, I was on LGBT on 4chan, which I know they're
Great start.
Yeah. And then people were like, you should go on poll, and I was like, oh god, this is gonna be horrible, and it was absolutely horrible. It was the
What were you doing on poll?
No, I didn't.
That's a horrible idea.
I know it was a horrible idea. I realized that in retrospect. But I also kind of realized it when I did. I was like, let's do a really messy AMA. Let's get these people who are gonna like grill me like in front of a Senate. And yeah, they like basically like called me like they called me what did they say? They called me a coal burner because I went on a date with a black girl. They like, oh my gosh, they were horrible. They were horrible. And they like attacked me obviously for being trans and told me I was disgusting, which is a shame. It's a shame that people have hate in their heart like that because they're probably miserable in their personal lives.
Oh yeah, I have a bit of a history with not poll as much as I do with R9K. I don't know if you know R9K, but that's like the incel board basically.
It's the incel board. I thought it was like the random board, or like it's like
B is the random board.
Okay, wait. R9K is the one where it's like it changes. You can't do the same post, right?
Yeah, that's what it was originally, but for one reason or another, that became like the common space for incels on 4chan.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's like the incel board. And I used to like try to troll them sometimes, but if I ever like post a picture of myself or something, anything, they're just like, "Shut up, Demigloom." Like they know who I am.
They know your name. Wow.
Yeah,
The incels know your name. That's kind of a flex if you think about it.
yeah. I was like, I had beef with one of their
Name?
like, I had beef with one of their musicians at one point, and it was just, I
How
was
can
in
they
their
be a
spotlight for a little
musician
bit.
and be an incel? Like, imagine you're like some great artist, like Blake the Man 1000, and you're like an incel. Like, that'd be shocking to me. You know?
Never heard of Weezer?
Was Weezer incel?
No, not really, but it's a joke.
Weezer
So,
incel. Sorry.
before we get into like why you're here and all that, like why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about who you are, and what you've been up to like in life, like before this inciting event.
My name is Marcy Rheintgen. I'm a college student. I like to cook. The other day I made musubi. I'm not Hawaiian. I'm an American. No, I'm kidding. Hawaiians are American. But I'm an American. I don't know all these fancy words like French fries. Like that's a whole nother language because it's from France, you know. But yeah, I like to cook. I like to write. I like to write fiction on my typewriter. I like to go to church and pray and hang out with people at my church group. I like to do silly stuff. Like I made a beach in my apartment once, and I was also used to be known as the bread father in high school because I would like make sandwiches, and I like people really love my paninis. I like to hang out with my friends. I like memes, but that's not really like my personality. It's just something that randomly like came to me right now. I I like a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the world that's super duper cool. I'm getting more into naps. There was a long period of my life, like probably like 10 years, like past the initial nap phase when you're young, where I just didn't take naps. I'm like, I can't take a nap. That's impossible for me. But I've learned to take naps, you know, because it takes a while for me to fall asleep. So it's very inefficient for me. But I've learned to take naps, and I've learned to enjoy the naps. My brother, he could fall asleep on a table, you know, like face down on a table. He could fall asleep anywhere. He's impressive like that, just like a snap and a wink, and he's done. And that's always been impressive to me. To me, it takes a while. Maybe it's because I'm always on the internet now. But I wasn't always on the internet. Well, I'm a Zoomer. I use the internet, but I wasn't like a social media. Like, I didn't have Instagram for a while or Snapchat or anything like that. Now I have Snapchat, but I don't have it on my phone. But I have an Instagram app on my phone downloaded, and I'm gonna start like to repost my TikToks on there as reels. I think I like Toontown, the video game. I like bubblegum. I have candy cigarettes. You know what candy cigarettes are?
Of course I know what candy cigarettes are.
I am an addict of the candy cigarettes. I have like a couple packs a week. You know, sometimes it's a problem. I bought like probably like 10 packs with me to Florida, and I like burned through them, you know, especially on the way back, because then you're like a criminal. You can smoke. I'm a criminal now. Did you know that? You can smoke
I heard
candy cigarettes when you're a criminal. You can be badass like that. Because I don't think I can smoke regular cigarettes because I'm not 21. And I also can't drink, even if I turn 21, until like this trial's over, because I signed a pretrial agreement, which sucks. So yeah, but I like candy cigarettes because they're a great alternative while keeping the aesthetic. Because no one really wants, well, people like to smoke, but most of it is the aesthetic. I want to have something in my mouth, you know, not in a gay way. I mean, but anyway, you know, sometimes in a gay way. But I like to have the cigarette in my mouth, you know?
Yeah. So you are 20?
I'm 20 years old, yeah.
Wikipedia says you're 22. It says like 20 to 21. Do you know why that is?
It's because I said I was 20 at a specific point, and so they know that I was 20 at that specific point. They don't know if I've turned 21 since, and it's kind of a mystery to them. But I don't see. This is the thing with my birthday. If I say when my birthday is, since I have a Wikipedia page, it's always going to be out there now. And they're always going to know when my birthday is. And I don't know if I want the internet to know when my birthday is. This is like a dispute I've been having in my mind for like a couple of weeks at this point of like, on my birthday, do I put the little birthday thing on the Twitter? A. And B, on my birthday, do I like do a little birthday photo, be like, happy birthday, like hang out with my friends? Do I send that? I don't know about that, because that could be bad. Like, I don't know if I want the incels knowing my birthday. I don't know if I want the world knowing my birthday. It'd be fun to get little birthday wishes on the Twitter, but I don't know. I don't know if I want the world knowing my birthday.
I think I said my birthday publicly when I was like 14, so I don't have any chance of keeping it a secret. But if you can keep anything a secret nowadays, like I would recommend doing it.
Yeah.
They'll use whatever they can to narrow you down, and the more information they have, the more likely they are to.
Oh, you think they can use that to get me on the internets and like find out who I am?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't
they
actually know
kind
how
of know
relevant
who I
a
am.
birthday is.
They know what my name is, you know.
You have a pretty unique last name too. If you Google I googled your last name to see like what kind of last name it was, and you're the first thing that pops up.
Oh yeah, I wasn't always, you know. It's kind of a flex to me. I'm like the most famous Rheintgen. I should tell my family that. They'll love that. You know. Well, actually, I was about to tell you a personal detail about my family being worried about people finding out, but I'm not gonna say it. But because I don't want to dox them accidentally. I'm stupid enough. I don't know how I shouldn't say this, but I don't know how I have not gotten doxed yet. I'm like so stupid. So it should have happened by now. But I'm glad it hasn't, because I want to not get murdered, you know?
Yeah. So before we get into the case, if you will,
Elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room.
Hearts.
Do you have a history of activism?
No.
Prior to this?
No.
So this was your first rodeo.
This was my debut.
All right.
I didn't intend to become an activist. I actually remember talking with Sam from Aaron in the Morning, and Sam was like, "So you're a trans activist. What do you think of this?" I'm like, "I'm not a trans activist." I don't know if that was in the article or the. By the way, of all the journalistic pieces, Aaron in the Morning, snap for them. They did the best job. I don't want to say anything negative about other journalists, but they were pretty thorough. They did a great job. But you know, when Sam initially asked me about, Sam didn't ask me, are you an activist? Just said I was an activist. And I was like, I'm not an activist. Like, I rejected the label that I was a transgender activist, because I was just someone who was pissed off, you know, but I feel like I have to be a trans activist now. And I mean, I guess I like it a little bit. It's starting to grow on me, but it's not like I didn't set out to become a trans activist. I was just someone who was pissed off and was just like so upset. And like, I'm an emotional person. Like, I didn't really think this out very deeply. Like, I thought of it like emotionally deeply, but not like intellectually of like, this will happen. I'm not like Machiavelli playing chess or some shit. I'm just like, I was just like upset. I'm like, this is fucked up. This is messed up. You know, I don't want this to like, this is gonna fuck up my life. Like, this is such bullshit. This is such bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess just to get into it, like, what exactly is it that you did that put you on the map?
I
Just for the people who don't know.
I did the grave crime, you know, the mortal sin in the eyes of the Florida government, you know, the unforgivable. I washed my hands in the women's bathroom in the Florida State Capitol building. And so they put me in handcuffs, threw me in the back of a van, and drove me down to a prison where they took away my clothes, my phone, my rosary, even my Mary medallion, my scapular. And they put me in like a disgusting cell with bars. It was like a cell out of the movies, you know? I keep saying that.
Yeah.
It's very true. You know, it was like a cell out of the movies because it was like it was like it had like actually, you know how there's like the sliding thing with the bars?
Yeah.
It had one of the things where like it slid, the bars like slid and it closed. And it was like, wow. That's actually what I said to the person who put me in here. I was like, wow, it's just like the movies. And then I realized, oh God, it's just like the movies. That's not good. That's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. They had metal toilets. You're just like, a lot of them don't even have, the first one I had didn't even have like a seat to sit on or whatever. So I was just like leaning on like a wall or whatever. And I wasn't going to sit on the toilet, dear God, but the toilet was disgusting. All the toilets were disgusting. I mean, the only thing that kept me sane throughout the whole endeavor was they had some like pencils this later on, and then people had drawn wall graffiti, and just like I would just reread the wall graffiti like it was like some sort of ritual. Like it was like I was in a cave and it was all the things carved into the wall from the ancient scribes, you know, but I mean, it was also disgusting. I keep saying the word disgusting, but it was just so immeasurably unclean. And I've talked to people and they're like, yeah, county jail in the deep South is like pretty much the worst jail, way worse than prison than you can ever go to. Because prisons at least have private funding. And I'm like, oh shit, really? That's what it is? But yeah, that's my story of what happened to me in terms of what, yeah, I mean, it was horrible. It was disgusting. It was scary. Like people don't realize how gross. They don't clean jails like ever. They don't really do that. You know, they I don't think those things have ever been cleaned, and it's just like, you know, it's just years of bacteria, and it's like, you know, people probably had like gay rape there before or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. You know, I'm glad I didn't get a male cellmate. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I'm glad I didn't get a male cellmate because otherwise, like.
Did they give you a cellmate at all?
They didn't give me a cellmate at all. They put me in the male block, but they didn't give me a cellmate at all, which was very isolating, I will say. But I mean, it's better than being raped, right? Like, no one wants to be raped.
Absolutely, yeah. So how long did they hold you there?
They held me there for 25 hours. By the way, I don't know, maybe we could start the interview. I'm also on the internet. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm on social media at Marcy Rheintgen on Twitter and TikTok and other places too.
And we'll put your links in the description too,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they can all.
I was in there for
they can
25
find
hours.
all that.
It was so horrible. I was crying most of the time. You know, it was like a full day. You know, like when people say I was in there for a day, they usually mean like, oh, I went to Disney World for a day. That was like 8 hours. Like, no, for me it was like night, day, morning. I had to experience all the times of the day, and you sort of lose track of when things are. You know, and
yeah.
You know, when you're waiting to meet the judge and shit, because they like have you like zoom to the judge or whatever from like a computer, and, like zoom to court or whatever, you know, you're in these like holding cells that are like completely like you have windows, but they're like blacked out almost. You can't like, they're painted down. And so you're just like in this place where you can't really, because you're just in this box where there's like almost no light, and you're just waiting for hours of like, you don't know when you're going to see the judge. You're just sitting in there. It's like so freaky.
Yeah, it's like psychological torture at that point.
Oh yeah, it's like the drip, drip, drip. You know, that's what water torture is. It's the drip, drip, drip of like, when is it gonna happen? You know.
So to take it back just a little bit, so you washed your hands in a women's restroom at the Florida Capitol building, correct?
Yeah, I did.
And before that, you sent out how many letters to lawmakers
160
warning
letters,
of your intent to do that?
158 to lawmakers. Usually their bicameral legislature seats 160, but 2 seats were vacant because I don't know why the fuck they were vacant, but they were vacant. And so I used the other 2 letters, like the stamped and shit I purchased, to send a letter to Mr. DeSantis and to send a letter to the Attorney General, whose name I can't fucking remember. And yeah, I sent those letters, and I was very kind. I was telling them, I love you, and I think this law is wrong, and I'm gonna break it. But it was kind of like an fu in the way of like, even though I love them so much, it is like going to the people I wrote to the people who wrote the law. I said this in the letter. You guys wrote the law, and I'm gonna break the law essentially. But I love you, and I hope you have a great day, and I know that it's wrong, so you want to arrest me. And I really didn't think they would. First of all, I didn't really. I always thought nothing ever happens. They're probably not gonna read their mail, and even if they would know how horribly the optics are for this. They would know how ugly this would look. They would just know it's a bad idea. But
Right.
I overestimated the intelligence of the Republican legislators. I don't know what else to say.
And by the law, you're referring to
Hard.
the Facility Requirements Based on Sex Act that was passed in 2023.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really wasn't a fuck you, but I don't want to say it's a fuck you because I love them. I love them so much, But it was like, I'm gonna break your law.
And to clarify, when you say you love them, you mean that in the most Christ-like way, right?
Yeah, I love them so much.
Why do you say you love them when they're doing this to you? It's not a accusation; it's just a question.
Yeah, I mean, if you only love those who love you, what difference are you from the pagans? I think that's what Jesus said. Do they not do themselves? I think I don't know if he said the pagans. He said something like that. It was. I think if we only love those who love themselves, who loves us, it's really self-serving. You gotta love people who hate you. It's so freeing. I could just be boiling right now and like sitting in anger of like, But I mean, I'm more scared than angry, honestly. But I'm not angry because I have no hate in my heart for them. I love them fully and completely, no matter how they've hurt me and no matter how they're gonna hurt me in the future. And it's not, some people, I remember I originally got criticism for this from the trans community of like, are you just some naive conservative girl from a rich white family in the suburbs who doesn't really know suffering or anything like that? And it's like, I do know suffering. I was jailed for this. I know how the stakes are. It's because of those stakes. It's because of that evil. I stand in opposition to that evil. I stand in opposition to that anger, and I want to show them my full mercy and forgiveness and love towards them. No matter what they think of me, no matter what they say of me, I fully and completely love them. I don't just love people conditionally. I don't just love them until they're not good to me. I love them fully and completely, no matter how they treat me.
Have any of these politicians made public statements about your actions?
They're avoiding calls. They're putting the mattresses up. They know it's bad luck. I want to write them letters. I think I want to write the sponsors of the bill letters with my mugshot and just send it to them and say, this is what you did to me. This is what you did to me. Because
Go on.
anyone listening, Google my mugshot or just Google my name. Go to photos. You'll see my mugshot. I'm crying in it. It's horrible. It's not like some people have cool mugshots. My mugshot is pretty like I'm like ugly crying, and that was real. That was raw. I'm like I am a white kid from the suburbs. I will say I'm someone who's not less deserving of jail, but someone who is just not the kind of person you'd expect in jail. Not the kind of, I'm like a squeaky clean kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not, I'm not like a criminal. I guess I am now, but I'm not the kind of like when I was getting released, I was with some chicks who were in jail, and they were like so chill about it. They're like, yeah, I've been here a couple times, I'm badass like this, and I'm like, you're just okay with us? They just seem so like they carry themselves so well and have like the confidence of like, yeah, I went to jail, you know. And I was like a fucking mess, you know. And there's some people who just like can handle jail more, and there's some people who are just like, I'm a natural rule follower, you know. And it's like, I don't know. I'm like not the kind of person who is ready for jail or who goes to jail. I'm not a criminal, you know.
Right.
Those girls were cool though. I love them. They're super cool.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to the girls. Shout out to the girls when I was getting released, who were also getting released, and I was hanging out with. They were super neat. I hope they have a great day.
So after you get out of this after you get out of jail, what's the news at that point? What is your future looking like?
Um, like after that, I nothing really happened for like a couple weeks. Like I told some reporters, I tipped them off, like this happened to me, this was wrong. I cried on the way home a little bit. I drove my car. My parents were pissed off at me because my mom's a worry. She worries all the time, and I didn't want her to worry. It was
Right.
cruel and fucked up as this was. I think it was fucked up of me to do this in retrospect, but I didn't tell her that I was going to do this because I didn't want her to be worrying the whole trip. You know, so she got a call at around midnight.
Were you on vacation with your family in Florida?
No, I was on spring break alone.
Spring break alone. Okay. Did you go to Florida just to do this?
No, I
Okay.
was there for spring break, and this was something I was just like something I was gonna do real quick. I didn't think I was gonna get arrested. Honestly, they met me outside. The
Mm-hmm.
cops met me outside the bathroom. They were waiting for me. They stationed police officers. They spent government money trying to like guard the bathrooms to make sure I didn't enter. You know, it's crazy, but you know, I my parents got a call at midnight of like from the Tallahassee government. I mean, like, your kid's in jail. I'm like, hi, mom and dad. I'm laughing, but I was like bawling, and I was like telling them what happened, and they were really upset at me. You know, my parents are very conservative, and they're very much on tough love, so they didn't post bail. So I spent the night. I could have gotten out if they posted bail, but they didn't post bail, and I spent the night in jail. Um, which sucked. It really sucked. It was rough. Um, so that was horrible, and I get it though. But they told me that they weren't originally. They're going to book a hotel room for me on the way back because it's a long drive from Chicago to Florida. They
Mm-hmm.
said no, sleep in your car, and so I slept in my car outside a Waffle House.
Oh.
Yeah, I
I
got
feel like they're being a little hard on you. Not to air out your family grievances.
no. I don't have any complaints with my family. I love them. I don't really have any,
How was your
but I woke
how
up
was
the
your
next.
family? Sorry, go on.
I know I woke up the next. Sorry, I want to tell this because I really it scratches my brain the right way. But I woke up
Yeah.
the next morning and I went to a Waffle House at like 6 in the morning, and I the waitress said I looked as pretty. I should take a picture in front of the magnolia tree, which was very nice of her. It was in Alabama. Um, it was weird. The whole thing was weird. I really enjoyed that interaction, but the whole thing was everything was weird. Anyway, continue.
How has your family reacted to you becoming like an icon?
Um, they think it's stupid.
They think it's stupid. They think it was
Yeah,
just dumb of you to
I mean,
do that, knowing that it was
my
illegal.
parents are very conservative. I'll be real. My mom, you know, she likes the support I'm getting and stuff, but I don't think they really. I don't think they deeply understand it. But they're very strategic. You know, they're very, you know, carrot and stick family, you know, and so they may just not be like showing any that much of support for this because they it's just they don't want to encourage me going to jail again, you know. But
Yeah, of course.
um I mean, she's shown me like stuff from like support groups on Facebook that she found for me, which is nice of her.
That
Um
is really sweet.
yeah, but they never explicitly said that they support the protests, and they said a lot of things about otherwise. You know, I remember my father when I posted on my Twitter, I posted about to troll Riley Gaines with a Z, but her name has an S, and it has an E as well. And I posted on my Twitter when I was like at the place where they were gonna have the event, and my dad was like texting me like, "Don't be mean to Riley. She's had it so hard." And I'm like, "Oh gosh."
Oh man.
I love my family though. They're Trump voters, and I love them. I love Republicans. I love Democrats. I love independents. I love Green Party voters. I love everyone.
So, after retweeting you, and supporting you in this case, a lot of people have commented on your page and also told me like, you shouldn't support this woman. She's a conservative. And I was wondering,
Wait, people told you that directly?
a few people, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm wondering if
Crazy.
there's any basis to you being a
No,
conservative,
there's no
or if that's
basis.
just because
There's zero
is
basis.
it just because you're Catholic?
Yeah, it's
Do you
entirely.
think?
I'm being entirely attacked for my faith, and I'm really pissed off because of it. And it's also because of one offhand comment I made to a journalist. Because okay, so I was speaking to a journalist for one of the first articles, and they asked me for my political beliefs, and I really don't like to give them. I don't really like to. I'm not a labels person. And
Yeah.
she said to me for my political beliefs, and I was like, I said moderate, and then I was like, wait a second, because if I say that, they're going to think I'm a moderate leftist, and then the right's going to frame this as some left wing extremist. So I was like, I should have said centrist, but I was like, how do I say this to say I'm a moderate, without them thinking, because I want to like throw the conservatives for a loop. So I said I was a moderate conservative,
Okay.
to try to like, because otherwise they're thinking I'm a leftist and they're just going to dismiss me immediately. And then I was right through the calls, and I actually responded to the person, Charlie Pro Boy Motor, an absolute. I don't want to be negative. I'm not going to say what I think about this person, but I responded to this person. I was like, hey, take down the tweet. And they were like, oh, okay, I'll take it down. And it's like, they just wouldn't take it down. They kept not taking it down. And they kept slow walking because they wanted the likes and they wanted the attention. And I informed them directly, hey, take down the tweet. This is completely untrue and you're defaming me. And they didn't care. Fuck them. They got like 20,000 likes telling me I don't give a fuck that she went to jail because she's a conservative. Hey, I'm not a conservative, but if I did, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you only care for trans? Would you only give a shit about Rosa Parks if she was a Democrat? Like, what the fuck is wrong with
Exactly.
you? Like,
That's what I would, and I do
bizarre.
have a leftist fan base who can be a little unreasonable sometimes. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd urge everyone to be sympathetic to Marcy and also applaud her for her deed. Even if you don't agree with I guess every level of her political opinions.
I don't really have
At the end of the
political
day,
opinions. That's the thing.
yeah,
People are like projecting so much shit onto me, and that's what's crazy. And I've been attacked. I told my ambush interview with Amy Armstrong. I've been attacked. I don't know if I said that during the interview or not, but I don't think I did. So I was attacked, and it's pointless to watch. But I was attacked by a lot of, not just her, but a lot of like Sarah Higdon. Sarah Higdon just like relentlessly been attacking me. I've been attacked by a lot of right-wing trans people too. And for not being, for not licking the boot enough. You shouldn't have been in there. It's like, okay, honey, kiss the boot of the Nazis. Go ahead. Kiss the boot of the people who literally gave a speech at CPAC saying they want to eradicate us. And it's like, I just want people to be normal. I'm not really a political person. I think trans activism shouldn't be so rigidly political. I think we should be we can't win if we only get 50%. We need to get the centrists, we need to get the conservatives on our side. And I have gotten message from a lot of people who are in these conservative circles and say, yeah, a lot of conservatives are a lot more sympathetic after seeing your case. And like, we got to speak the language of everyone, not just like our little group. I think we're too comfortable in our bubble as the trans community. We need to get in the mud. We need to get in the muck. We need to go barnstorm. We need to go into the mud. We need to go into the battlegrounds, and fight. Fight to keep this, this sort of prejudice away. I dream of a world where the two parties will both respect rights and dignity. I really believe that. This shouldn't. I think it's more important to change culture than to just change, who's elected one year. I'm not some soulless, political analyst. Or some hack. I really do deeply care about the future of trans rights,
Absolutely, very well said. If there's one thing that I would say, if there's one virtue that I could say this platform is dedicated to upholding, that being middle school GSA, it would be the that we activism needs to be bipartisan and reach across the aisle.
Hmm.
Not even just in terms of when you hear bipartisan, you think of like collaboration between lawmakers of opposite parties or politicians. Um, just bipartisanship in like common humanity and
Hmm.
yeah, just being able to work together and see humanity in people across political lines and spread the virtues of basic human rights and freedoms to people who perhaps aren't going to see eye to eye with you on everything else.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need more grace as a community too, and it's hard to have grace when people want to get rid of us. But I'm not even saying that for like the sake of like, we need to be more graceful. We need to be more nice. You know, as like a virtue thing. We do need to do it as a virtue thing. But I'm saying it as like a survival thing of like optics, optics, optics. I thought about optics a lot when I did this. We need to be good with our optics. If we're just always mad and angry, we're gonna lose. Like that's just how it works. You know, I think I want to win more than a lot of people in a lot of these spaces do, and so I'm willing to. Saul Alinsky, the famous left wing act. I don't know how famous he is, but he's famous from Chicago, and he's probably one of my favorite left wing activists. He would talk about how he would get shit from other left wing activists because he would wear a suit and a tie and glasses and a hat, but he did it intentionally because he wanted to go in a little bit snake like, I will say, but I like him. He would go into these places and he would go in with these conservatives and you would have a better chance of actually shifting them over to the left and actually getting like legit, he was accused of being communist, getting, we're going to say, socialist policy, actually done and fighting for workers' rights, because he was willing, as an organizer to put away his personal like style and semblances in order to have the best chance of winning because he cared about winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember who it was, but I was watching a couple of videos covering your situation. And there was one, I believe it was a trans woman, who was basically calling you an idiot, saying that you knew you were going to get arrested and you
Yeah,
just
I've,
got
I've gotten
arrested on
many
purpose.
conservative critiques.
What do you say to people who would say something like that, that you just got arrested on purpose and it was really stupid of you?
I did get arrested on purpose. I mean, I didn't think it was gonna happen. It was like one of those things where people are like, "How did you not expect it to happen?" And it's like people forget that like in life nothing happens. But I think it's the Mary Chu, um, a conservative critique of Marcy Rheintgen. There was other people who criticized me too. Mainly, it's funny how we can't eat our own. That's like something I've noticed because I feel like I've seen on the left, the left hates the left more than the left hates the right, which is a problem. Because or I don't
Absolutely,
think we
yeah.
should hate anyone, but I think we should like we're talking about focusing our energy. It shouldn't be on infighting and shit. And I think I think it's just so stupid for someone to like go to jail for like what they believe in and for the community and for rights and for people to be like, oh, you're just getting in prison for attention. You're going to jail for 11 months for attention. Because that's what I could get. I could get 11 months in prison. To someone to like say to me, like someone who's doing something like it's like a full sacrifice of my personal life and fucking up my personal life for the trans community and for what I truly believe, which is dignity. Someone who's doing that, and then like people to be like, yeah, you're just doing it for yourself, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like some people are crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, sorry, give me one second.
it's okay. I'm picking my nails right now. I always pick at my nails.
So we're kind of jumping around all over the place, but according to all the news outlets I could find, it seems that you're the first person to be actually arrested
Hmm.
after this bill was passed. And
Correct.
it's been a thing for 2 years, and I'm sure you're not the first trans woman to use the use the women's restroom in a public building like that.
I'm not.
Why do you think you got arrested and other people haven't yet?
Because they're expecting the passing trans girls to just break the law, and because they're trying to normalize criminalizing our existence, because later they could say, oh, we're just enforcing the law, this law's been on the book for years, which is their goal, is but people need to see this as a genuine shock to the system of like, this is what the laws are, this is the country we live in, because I think a lot more people support these bathroom bills than actually want to see them enforced and actually want to see them be real bills. Because the conservative boogeyman of trans people is like these like hairy men. I mean, you've seen the caricatures of like these bald guys with a couple pink hairs on, and like I don't know. I don't want to describe the caricatures, but they have all these caricatures of us.
Yeah.
But then people see my article and they're like, this person's arrested. This person can't go in the men's. That would cause such a dilemma. That would cause such a problem. And that's my point, Like, realistically, it's fucking ridiculous and insane to expect me to go to the men's bathroom. Like, that's insane.
Absolutely, it is, and I would be, yeah, I'd be willing to bet, after hearing your story, a lot of, I'd be willing to bet a lot of people who supported this bill initially, after hearing your story, are asking themselves whether they'd be more comfortable seeing you in a men or a women's restroom, and kind of scratching their heads.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the next, if we're talking about game theory here, I think the next thing we gotta have is like 100 trans men use the women's bathroom and see what a commotion that would cause, and say, this is what the Republican legislators want. We are following the law. This is, because that would be so ridiculous, because then people would actually try to enforce the law on them and say, no, this is what the law says, actually. The point is to make us uncomfortable, to make us scared to live our lives, to criminalize our existence, which is a
yeah.
shame.
So like I said, you don't really have a like we established, you don't really have a long history of activism.
No.
Um,
I'm also
but
20.
do you?
So I'm pretty young.
You are also 20. I'm also 20, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Um, do you see yourself doing more in the future? And after going on all of these interviews and making a lot of public appearances on the internet, do you see yourself becoming, or I guess maintaining your status as a public figure?
Am I a public figure?
In some ways, I would say.
Holy shit, that's weird. That's weird to me. That's so weird to me. Um, yeah, I mean, I initially didn't want to become an activist. That's not why I did this. I mean, I told you my resistance to the label activist. I didn't like that label because,
Yeah.
I'm just a normie, but I think I have to now, you know. I feel like, yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to now. I don't know how to explain it, but I do feel that I feel like I have, things happen for a reason. I'm a believer in divine providence. And I think if I'm in this situation, I'm in this way, after all this bullshit, after you put through the ringer, after having it, by the way, this isn't over for anyone listening. I'm going to have a trial in July, like probably.
Right.
My arraignment's in a couple days in Florida. I'm just kind of, it might have already happened, May 8th, I'm just kind of sick of this shit. I'm sick. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it. This is really, people say, what's the moment that radicalized you? This is kind of the moment that radicalized me, being in prison. Because someone says, oh, it's fascist, and everyone's been saying that forever. It kind of wore out its weight. Then you actually see it happening. You actually see it that, like, they're arresting us now and, like, imprisoning us for living our lives. Like, and then I have to go in front of a jury in the Deep South. And by the way, that's part of the reason I'm doing optics the way they are. People attack me for seeming conservative. I'm going on a jury in the deep, deep South, and I have to articulate myself of like why I shouldn't, you know, get in prison for 11 months.
Yeah.
And I, I, I don't know.
So to be clear, you're facing up to 11 months in prison,
And immense.
and
A lot
and
of
it
times
would
in
be
Florida, they
it would be a
shave our
men's
heads.
prison.
A lot of times in Florida, they have rules. I don't know if it might be a men's jail. It depends on which jail I go to, but like the actual state jails instead of just the county jails, like the state prisons, they shave your head if you're trans. And
Wow.
yeah,
Just specifically if you're trans?
yeah, they have policies to like they take away your hormones. They have you can actually look this up. I'll send you a post already, John. But yeah, they like shave your head. It's crazy.
So you would essentially be forcefully
I'd be
detransitioned
forced to detransition. Yeah,
if you were convicted and sentenced to 11 months in prison.
yeah.
Um, to anybody listening who doesn't realize that this is a major human rights concern, I would urge you to think about that. That this lovely woman here is potentially facing a forcible detransition imposed by the state.
Hmm.
And if that isn't fascism, I don't know what is at this point.
Yeah, and I'd probably be raped in prison. That's what happens to most trans people in prison.
Unfortunately, that happens very often, yeah. And I guess I haven't said this yet, Marcy, but like, from one trans girl to another, I am terribly sorry that this has all happened to you.
Yeah.
And I admire your courage to have done this act of civil disobedience. And I know your family members are think it's a dumb thing, but I know that you know that a lot of people are really proud of you and what you've done. And you really stood up for not just for yourself, and whether you intended to or not, you stood up for an entire people.
I did
And
too.
um, regardless, regardless of regardless of any differences me and you may have, I felt represented as a trans woman when you did that, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart
Oh,
for your bravery.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, that pretty much encompasses most of the questions I wanted to ask. I guess I just wanted to vaguely ask you. We've kind of gotten into this. Um, where do you see yourself? Yeah, like if you go to jail, if you don't go to jail, how do you personally think your future looks?
Honestly, I've been like put through hell because of this, and I at least want to like get something out of it. I don't want to like be put through hell and then just disappear. I feel like
Right.
I want to become an activist because I'm honestly mad at what's happened. Um, and like I want them to like fear my name a little bit. I don't mean that in a mean way, but I want them to like be like, oh shit, we never should have done that. You know? And I can't go back to a normal life after this. I don't want to go back to a normal life after this. I said it's radicalizing. I I'm very upset, and I don't want to just disappear. That would bother me if they just get to imprison me and that's all I am. I want to, I love these people. I want to punch back though. I don't want vengeance. I want justice. I want these
Right.
laws to be gone, and I will do whatever I can to make sure these laws are gone. I'm going to make sure the sponsors of this bill. I'm going to make sure I want to do whatever I can to keep them out of politics forever. I mean, if there's any, politicians listening to this, I will jump in any attack ad for free. Just got to get me there, and I will jump in. Like, get me there, give me a place to sleep if it's like overnight or something. Like, I will just go. I will go to do attack ads. Like, yeah, like I'm upset.
What would you say is the is as negative as an experience as this obviously has been? What do you think the most positive thing to come out of it has been?
I think a lot of normies were upset. And I'm a numbers gal. I look at the statistics, and I look at the normies especially. And I saw on Instagram there was a lot of normal people who were just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Because we need to show people the stakes of this. Of like, they're just gonna start. If people are okay with us being in prison for using the women's bathroom, they're just gonna be okay with imprisoning us just generally.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um,
Because imprisoning you for using the bathroom that aligns with your rightful gender identity
I can't even use the
is
men's.
functionally penalizing you for existing.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much what it is. It's functionally penalizing you for your own transness,
Yeah.
for your for your commitment to your identity. So at this point, it's just a roundabout way of criminalizing being transgender and expressing, or I guess performing femininity as someone who is assigned male at birth.
Yeah. It's sad. It makes me sad. Um, yeah, please, everyone, please share this case. Please follow me on my Twitter, on my TikTok at Marcy Rheintgen, on everything, MarcyRheintgen. Because I don't want this case to disappear. Right now, because I don't have a big social media following, my coverage of like what happened is like entirely dependent on like news orgs and stuff. Um, and like they could drop me in, they drop me in a second. When it's not, you know, they drop you in a second. It's a shame. Um, and so, you know, I don't know, like there was a blackout on this issue. Ground News talked about this. They actually, that was one of the things where they showed a blackout in reporting from conservative media on this issue. And it's a shame, like, I don't even know if news orgs are going to cover my trial. They should, but I don't know. I'm scared for the future. And I honestly, please follow me. I just need a voice. I want a voice. I don't want to be someone the Trump administration can just make go away. I want to fight back. I want to punch back.
Absolutely. And for everybody listening, all of her social media will be linked in the description. Please give her a voice. Please give her a platform. And I guess other than that, I wanted to ask you: is there anything that not that I have a large audience myself, but just to anyone listening, is there like what can the masses do to help you?
Try to email different people, email different shows. Don't email Vosh. I'm gonna maybe get on him. I don't want to say too much. But
Oh, congratulations.
yeah, well, I don't. It's not a for sure thing. I'm chatting with him though. But
Yeah.
like I have to want to email ContraPoints. But just yeah, email ContraPoints. Email all these different, maybe philosophy too. I don't know. Email all these different trans people, all these different left wing, podcasts, media circuit, all these news organizations that my trial is going to be soon. Just email all these people, DM all these people. Hey, you should have Marcy Rheintgen on. Just do that. It would help a lot. Like actually, like it would help the world. Honestly, it would help me so much. Just yeah, DM people to have me on and just organize. Tell people to have me on because that's the way we make the story more powerful. Because I don't want to go away. I don't want to be someone who just goes away. Like that bothers me. After they imprison me, I want them to regret it. I want them to repeal these laws because of how much the backlash will be. Yeah.
Have you been covered by the Young Turks yet?
No, I haven't.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that they would cover. People should maybe people should reach out to them. I don't know.
I should actually. Yeah. That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah, because you got covered by like NBC.
I did. Yeah.
Like
I like the Young Turks. I feel like they're pretty progressive and they're alternative. I feel like, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But they also like their news networky formatted. They're not like a streamer, and so they exist in like their own kind of space. And then they're like this like alternative news network. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be it would definitely be a different audience than like the leftist streamers that you're going to be talking to.
Yeah, I've watched them a couple times before. I like their stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I can think of a lot of people that would probably love to have you on. So I would encourage everybody listening to just give your favorite show the recommendation. Yeah, I think it would be great.
Yeah, please do. Please email people. Please give them recommendations. Yeah, I would love to go on Positive America. I'd love to go on, what's it called? Chapo Trap House. I watched a couple episodes of Chapo before. I fucking love Chapo. They're funny as hell. Yeah, please give recommendations. That would help me so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that pretty much covers
Wraps it
everything I
up.
wanted to talk about today. Is there anything else you want to say to my very small audience before you go?
Not much. Just I love y'all. God bless. I hope you have a wonderful day. Yeah. Ciao.
All right, thank you so much, Marcy, for coming on. It's absolutely an honor. You are a historical figure in the making, and you are a hero. Um, yeah, thank you so much for your time and your
So,
words, and I wish you the absolute best of luck with your trial.
oh,
Um, yeah, I fully stand with you. I'm sure my audience does too, and yeah, I will be talking about you.
thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.